Welcome, welcome, welcome to this conversation. I'm so thrilled and excited to have Joan and Tomas Heartfield with me. They are master teachers around the relationship realm, and they incorporate the astrological mysteries into their work and what they do. So we're going to have a conversation about that because we're looking at the fact that the South Node is in Libra. It's been in Libra since July of 2023. I think it's going to be 18 months after that, or 18 and a half months after that, before it shifts into the next sign. So we've still got this going on for all of 2024. And we're also coming up with Venus going to be conjunct the South Node in a few days from the time of this recording. That'll be on November 29th of 2023. And Venus, of course, being all about, and Libra being all about the relational mysteries. And this is taking place with a star called Spica in the constellation of the Priestess. And it's one of the most powerful stars of the divine feminine. And Spica is aligned with another star called Arcturus in the constellation of Boots. And they're both all at the same degree. And this is the guardian, protector, supporter, masculine energy, the star of Arcturus being there. And one of the things you might find fun about Arcturus is that from the handle of the Big Dipper, you arc around to Arcturus. You arc to Arcturus and spike to Spica. So those stars are all connected in that way. Anyway, so that energy is helping to influence us here in this conversation. And we're looking at how relationships have been, how we've been conditioned into relationships in our culture. And how are we moving beyond that? What are the gifts of the past that we can bring forward with us? But what are the things of the past that we can transmute and transform so we can have more fulfilling, more fun, more joyous relationships going forward? So I'm going to turn it over to you, Joan and Tomas, because I know you have so much that you can share with us around this.
Beautiful. So, well, the first thing I think I'd like to say is just that how important it is to have experiences in our past that can inform us of what it is that we need, how it is that we need to grow, what we need to learn. Because none of us come into the whole relationship field like, I know everything about relationship, I do it perfectly. We're kind of, we've learned whatever we have learned from our mothers, our caregivers, our teachers, whoever has been influential in our lives in terms of being a feminine or masculine role model, and then how we are supposed to be as men and women. And then we have all the media that is always saying, we're supposed to be more beautiful or more this or more that or something, that we're never enough. So then we have that kind of place where we don't feel quite like enough, that kind of comes maybe from our parental upbringing, but very often from our society that we're in. So, to be able to come into relationship, usually with a lot of questions, a lot of like, wow, I have a lot of emotion and feelings for this person, but I think I know what I'm doing because I'm kind of copying what I've learned from my caregivers or from what I'm seeing on television or the movies. But really, most people come in really not knowing how to do relationship. We're all figuring it out as we go along, kind of flying by the seat of our pants, as I like to say. And then really learning. And so doing whatever it is that we do in relationship and finding out what works and what doesn't work, it's the what doesn't work that we really need to focus on and, put some time and energy into going, okay, this is here for a reason. I want to learn more about this. If it's a communication pattern that I have and I'm not communicating in a way that's being successful with my partner, then it's communication, or if it's some other kinds of thing, if it's in the more intimacy kind of questions of how to be more intimate or how to be closer to my partner, how do I achieve that? Or how do I get his attention or how do I get her attention? So many different pieces of the puzzle. You want to say a little bit more about that?
Sure. What I noticed in my relationship with Joan is the energetics of our differences, the the way we present ourselves to the world individually, when couples are, let's say, moving together in a relationship, there's a lot of pressure for coherence in their styles and how they present, how they think, for couples to work on the outside. In other words, how it looks. It's wonderful if they have compatible looks, or they both have pleasing personalities and with enough variance, but where we run into difficulties, I think, is when relationships go into a distillation process, which I would say after chemistry's had a chance to really make it happen for a while, right? And then we get to a place where we call the necessary axis of relationship, is where change is invited. We have to change something about our interaction that doesn't work. And so there's like a pressure, because that change, that need for change hasn't happened yet, but that need for change pressures our sexual connection. It pressures our financial reality, because by and large, in relationship, we're looking for this idea of coherence. We're looking for a way to blend these attributes and capacities that we have, and add them into the container that we call it the love bubble that we carry as a couple, so that we can become more powerful together, and our energetics basically are meant to become a blessing for the community. And I'm talking into long-term relationships that, say, go more than 5 years, couples that are going, well, I'm in it for the long haul with you, because I don't want to have to go back and regrow what I just grew in myself with you, because it can be challenging when there's a lot of differentiation.
And I think that's really, Kaylin, I think that's also where we have found astrology to be so very, very helpful. Because I know early in my relationship with Tomas, I kept having this feeling that there was something more that was that he was to bring into the world. I just had this feeling that there was a potential in him that I never could quite talk about. And it really was when an astrologer did our charts and looked at his Mars, which is Mars is in Capricorn. My son is in Capricorn. And because his, and so Capricorn is, you can say more than anything, but it's like, it wants to get things done. It wants to grow corn. It wants to be effective in the world. And it wants to feed the generations. It wants to really be effective for the generations. And, because he has this wonderful Gemini moon that's so playful and so fun, and the Scorpio rising, which is like really wants to go deep. There's those and Sagittarius sun, which is like, I want to go all the way. Somehow his Capricorn was getting left out. And so as he began to understand how to pick up that Capricorn sword, or how to, really be more
intentional in terms of the results of being me.
Yeah. Then you became a way more, it's like, and then all of this other wonderful material that he had in his chart became more accessible and available, and you were actually able to be more successful in terms of what you wanted to do, and that was just like one little example, but it was huge in our relationship. It really did a lot, and then there's other things I could say about me, but I just want to stop for a moment and just let you talk, Kayla, and just to kind of like meditate on that for a moment.
Yeah. This is so good. I love this conversation. Just so good. I'm Mars in Capricorn and Scorpio rising as well. And so from the feminine perspective, this is my inner other, and also what I projected onto my partners. My first husband was not responsible. He was not engaged. He didn't show up on time. I was always mad at him because I did, I pretty much did everything to raise the kids and do all the responsible things. And he went to work. He did earn money. That was helpful, so I could be a stay-at-home mom, but he just didn't engage in that way. So of course that relationship didn't last. But after that was over, I learned that I needed to take that responsibility for that part of myself and not be projecting it onto my partner. And so I started to learn that, and I and I stopped resenting having to do it all. Because I recognized that was mine to do, but I also then drew a partner that could meet me in more of those ways, because I wasn't in that projection. So I wasn't seeing something in him that he wasn't, if that makes sense. So that's part of our opportunity, is to recognize what parts do we need to own within ourselves, and allowing our partner to be who they are without projecting onto them who we want them to be. So that's what I have to say about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly it's a gift, and it's a benefit to know our latent qualities,
Yeah.
and and to name them. It's so interesting. In a certain way, I feel like when I got in touch with my Capricorn Mars, that masculine essence of me, I realized how occluded it was, but I was really stimulated by the fact that I had the raw materials, that I had the essence of that energy. And so that resistance that I had, which was primarily, my Gemini moon, because it can be a curse to know you can make it up however you want to any moment, and it's fine. It can drive people mad. As I'm in my latest invention of myself, that I just changed from 2 minutes ago, because it's more convenient. But when we get into those more grounded, salient pieces that are meant to really produce something, then our life becomes a testimonial to accomplishment, to true accomplishment, which is, I think, one of the things we take with us before we check out is, what have you accomplished since you've been here?
Beautiful. And the other thing too is that as I discovered parts of myself that were latent, that had not been yet developed in the relationship, it always seemed to go with some part of me that I want to say, I wasn't performing, or I wasn't being the full person. I wasn't being as authentic.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it is. I wasn't being as authentic as I realized that I could be by picking up these other pieces. So the astrology pieces, when we work with them, because we do a lot of workshops and classes, as well as work with individuals, and we love to actually be able to have people embody their Venus or their Mars or different parts of their chart, because in actually embodying those qualities of energy, particularly the ones that maybe they aren't as familiar with, they realize, oh, I have this aspect of myself that I can feel proud of, or that I can feel good about, because I can see the value that it has in my life as I cultivate it more, as I cultivate it. And I think that's what we're always doing. We're cultivating different parts of ourselves as we're going through life. We're maybe cultivating being a mother, cultivating being a friend, being able to be cultivated, being, really clean and neat. I think my Virgo aspects that I've definitely had to work on in order to, create the kind of temple consciousness that we love to live in.
Yes.
So there's parts of myself that were naturally there, and parts of myself that I really needed to cultivate. And all I had to do is look around me and go, what isn't working? What isn't working in this relationship? And even in our communication, because we've studied nonviolent communication, compassionate communication, Tomas particularly studied with Marshall Rosenberg for many, many years. And so we really have, nobody masters communication, but we definitely are good communicators at this point. But even in that, I realized that the way I communicate, and with the sign that my Mercury is in, is so completely different than the way he communicates with the sign his Mercury is in. And sometimes our communication started going like this, until I realized, okay, this is my style. Capricorn, straight ahead. Gemini, let's see how many turns we can have, and how clever we can be in our communication, and so learning how to appreciate the different styles of communication a person has, and that, so you can have really good communication technology, but still astrology gives us a whole other understanding of the energetic quality that communication comes through. And some people are easier for certain signs to communicate with than others, right? You know, some of them are just, they go like this, and some of them are like, what are you saying? Yeah. So everything, you know, astrology kind of covers a whole range of what's the coloration of this aspect of the feminine, or this aspect of the masculine, or this aspect of communication, or this aspect of how we show up in the world, you know, and that's what's been so fascinating, to put together relationship stuff along with the astrology, that has made it so much tastier, you know, so much more colorful, so much more fun.
Yeah, I love this so much. I wrote an article. It's kind of lengthy, but it's called but I titled it "What You Heard Is Not What I Meant."
Ah,
About
nice.
communication, and I talk about the different Mercury styles of communication, because when we understand that, and when I started to understand that about certain people, I could have more room to allow for their style of communication, even if it didn't really match my style of communication.
Oh,
This is such an important piece. I think that a lot of times relationships just don't make it, or they don't know how to communicate with each other. They don't know how to allow for each person's style of communication. And so when we understand that piece, it can make all the difference in the world. I love that you brought that up. So yeah,
Find
how,
that. If we
go
find
ahead.
that, is that
oh,
online that you wrote?
Yeah, you know what? I'll send it to you, and I'll also put it in the show notes so people can access it. Yeah, because I think it's a really important thing, even, you know, for work relationships or families and or friends or anything. It's like understanding that communication piece is so helpful. And then there's just some people you'll never be able to communicate with. I've like, okay, I get it. You're not going to hear what I have to say. It's okay. You know, we may not be friends, we may not hang out, we may not have an interaction, but I understand it's because you can't hear what I'm saying, and I'm really having trouble hearing what you're saying, or whatever that's about. So yeah.
right. Sometimes those things, and even with relationship, I mean, you know, we love relationship, and you know, we work with a lot of couples, and we have couples classes and workshops, and you know, we do our best to really help people get on track with each other. And I think it's also important to recognize that there's I want to say, you know, maybe there's people that we need to hang out with for a certain amount of time in our lives to learn certain things,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily meant to be there forever, you know, and to start to recognize, like, where is there enough connection, you know, in this relationship, enough ability to communicate, enough ability to listen to each other really truly, enough ability to touch each other the way that really feels good and respectful, the way that we appreciate each other's emotions, you know, that it's like, you know, rather than, oh, you're too emotional, it's like to really, you know, love the emotions that are coming out, and honor them and respect them. And, you know, so many different things that we want to be able to be enough on the same page with a person that we can go the distance. So, you know, I also kind of want to presence that, because I think that's in the astrology very often too. You know, I've looked at astrology with people that are having a real challenge with each other, and I'm going, I don't say it to them necessarily, but I'm thinking, I wonder if you're even supposed to be together. You know, it seems like you came together for these pieces, but this looks like it could be really challenging, you know, in the long run. So I think that, you know, it's like relationship technology, you know, and then there's something bigger, you know, that what is it that brings us together, or keeps us together, or maybe only brings us together for periods of time.
Yeah, that's really key. I think another level of astrology is probably in place, but when we look at these cycles that we go through, you know, at times I think there's a stronger connection than others.
Mm-hmm.
And if we meet at a time when the stars, let's say, would be perceived as favorable, and then we go through, you know, a few big migrations, and we're kind of like different people. you know, when some of these pressures get taken off us, especially if we've had to invest a lot of our core energies to buckle down, you know, and deal with the challenges that we have with money, or the challenges that we have with our communication, you know, whatever they are. That there's times when it's going to be more than we bargained for, depending on what we're going through on a soul level as we go through the different cycles of our life and the patterns of our astrology.
Yeah.
That
And
is
even,
such an important piece that you're bringing up, Tomas, because initiation cycles, different timings of our life, and sometimes they're taking us deeper and further into the places we've been avoiding. And it's scary, and it's sometimes challenging to degrees that we haven't even experienced before, in a personal way. But then that also means the person that we're in partnership with is going to be experiencing that with us. And it helps to know what those cycles are so that we can have more space and be more open to allowing that person to be going through whatever they're going through without taking it personally.
exactly, hugely important. I know when Tomas was building this particular office space, and he was like tearing his hair out for various reasons, and I was like going, what the, you know, we got a reading, and he was going through his Pluto return or cycle or whatever it was, I can't remember, you know, but a Pluto
The best thing for me was to have this freak out. Have something down here on the earth to wrestle with, you know.
Yeah. But it was so helpful to recognize, oh, okay, this is not just him being inept in trying to manage, you know, the builders and whatever. This is really a real experience that he's having, that is being, you know, that we're seeing in the outer world. And this is how it's, and then once you recognize that too, you know, you were a lot less down on yourself, like, you know, why did I hire these people and this and that, and
You know, I ended up being really grateful for it, if I
yeah,
remember right.
yeah, you did. It's like, it was so helpful. So that was like, that
I
was,
needed some density,
yeah,
you know, to deal with real stuff.
Yes. And it's meant to empower, be empowering. So you sometimes you have to face those places or encounter those places where it feels disempowering. And then you can get to the empowerment part of it, especially with Pluto. Oh, I've been in a Pluto cycle for a couple of years myself, so I've been dealing with that. And I'm like, I just sometimes have to remind myself, okay, I know this is meant to empower me, even though I'm not feeling that right in the moment. But you know, and then I get to those moments of empowerment, and I'm really grateful, as you were saying, Tomas. I think when we understand it and recognize what it's trying to happen for us, not to us. Yeah.
If we really embrace it in these Pluto cycles, that we can be dealing with the hardest things, and have permission to not take it personally.
And we might take it personally, and we need to feel that and deal with that too. So it's okay to have the feelings we have, to be angry, to be frustrated, to be upset. Ideally, not taking it out on our partner. Or if we are, then recognizing it and owning it and saying, oh, whoa, this really isn't about you. This is about me. And then we can get to a better place, and there can be a lot more compassion on both sides. Yeah.
Yes.
that's a lot of what I've really has helped me is to have compassion, you know, to really understand, you know, not only our astrology, our, you know, and then our joint astrology, but also those cycles, because you know, life happens, you know, and it just keeps going, and it never stops, you know, presenting us with opportunities for growth. So, you know, so I think this is like with the moon, the north, with the south node in Libra right now, and really bringing up this whole thing around relationships. And it's a perfect time too, to really, you know, if you're in a relationship, you know, maybe for you to sit and talk or write down the things in your relationship that you love, that you're so happy with, that you're so grateful for, because gratitude is a big factor. We always want to be grateful. We even want to be grateful for the challenges we have, you know, because they're meant to support us in becoming more of who we are, more real, more authentic, stronger, more capable, you know. And at the same time, if you're not in a relationship, you know, and you're wanting to be in one, you could look at any past relationships you've had that haven't served you and kind of like look at, well, what do you want? And even in your present relationship, it's like, these are the things that are working. And maybe these are some things that we, you know, are not working as well as we would like them to. So what does that mean? Maybe we want to take a communication class. Maybe we want to take a, you know, a class on intimacy, you know, to learn how to be better lovers or something. Or maybe we want to take a class, you know, on just ourselves, you know, that we realize maybe we have some unresolved pain or unresolved anger, and maybe we need to do something for ourselves to release these things so we're not taking stuff out on our partner, so we can change some of these patterns.
Yeah, I'd ask a question at this point. I think what I'm wondering, Kaylin, is can we assume that with the South Node, you know, coming into Libra, or Libra coming into the South Node,
It's in there.
it's
Yeah.
in there. Is this a good time to do relationship repair? Does this indicate that there's more open possibilities for success in relationships that have gone south?
Yeah, especially when people are committed, willing, and showing up for it. Because if you're not committed or willing or showing up, then it's probably not going to do anything. I mean, we really do have to participate. And you know, one of my favorite sayings is, we're informing the mysteries as much as they're informing us. We know this is a time for working on relationship, our relationship to ourselves and to each other. And so, and having the willingness, being committed to that process. And so I am very excited that we're having this conversation, and we're going to have more of these conversations. So stay tuned, because there's so much more. I mean, we're just the tip of the iceberg here. So much more to share going forward. So we'd love for you to stay tuned, and maybe Joan and Tomas, you can tell people how to get in touch with you, and I will also put that in the show notes as well. So yeah, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they want to work with you.
Thank you. Yes, well, talkinghearts.com, TalkingHearts.com is our website.
Instagram is Talking Hearts Counseling. And of course, we still do social media through Talking Hearts also.
Yeah.
With Facebook.
Beautiful. And we do in person. People fly out here to do, you know, intensives with us, and we also do Zoom. So we work with people all over the world. And I think that, you know, what's really wonderful is that over the 25 plus years of our relationship, we really have used these tools. We've gathered so many wonderful tools in heart intelligence and communication and sacred sexuality and so many things, as well as astrology. You know, we're not astrologers, but we certainly have enough to be able to use this beautiful technology to weave it in so that it makes sense. And yeah, and you can also just message me or Joan at talkinghearts.com. Just email me, Joan at talkinghearts.com, and I will be able to get back to you. And I love it that you want to do more, because we just started.
We just got started, for sure. And I hope people really get a lot out of this, because I think this is perfect timing for everyone. So thank you all for being here, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Right. Mahalo. Thank you so much for presenting us. This is so fun.
It's been a pleasure, Kaylin, and thank you so much.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.